PTM. Well, I guess it is 9 o'clock dead on the nuts.
Pre-show.
Yeah.
Some pre PTM. Get all your cuss words out now.
Earl, what did you say last week, Sherwood, when I said, all right, we're going to do a recorded version of the PTM After Dark? I got 2 GDs and an MFer in the back.
Well, you said we were doing PG-13, so I was using modern. I was using modern day rules, so that means that I got like 3 Fs and 2 GDs and somebody's naked butt.
What's the opposite of like full frontal? Is it full rear?
Right.
Hey, I remember when NYPD Blue did a full rear, and it was like, okay, they changed the game. And then like I came home from college 2 years later and was watching with mom and dad, and they said, fuck. Like, on ABC, I was like, oh, I think things have changed.
We got real. I think we got real.
And that would have been what, 2001 probably?
Yeah. So do you remember the South Park episode where they said shit something like 200 or 300 times?
It was 136 or something like that.
Something crazy.
Right?
Yeah. That was and the whole show was about a different show that they were going to say shit on.
Yes. I tell you what, man, those guys are something else. I used to watch that religiously, and I've kind of fallen off on that. But it was, I mean, I'll never forget when they were the yaw of the shaft. That was just one of the best damn shows I've ever seen.
I couldn't get past that very first, I don't know, what was it, maybe 8 minutes they put that showed up on HBO, like when I was a freshman in college. Like it was all, the internet was a huge deal then. Rusty knows that. You know that, Brandon, because we're all basically the same age. But, you get to Georgia Tech as freshmen, they're like, you ever had a T3 connection before? I'm like, I don't even know what the F word that is. And they're like, well, you're fixing to find out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think for the first 6 seasons or so, I had every episode downloaded on my computer because, you could do that at Georgia Tech and just, press this button and now you have it downloaded for, in 2 seconds.
I know what I'm missing. I don't have my lights on.
Aha.
I was like, man, my face looks dark.
Yep, I've got the studio lights on. It's funny how different it looks like. If I turn that off and turn that off, now we are.
Oh, you're movie setting.
Yeah, exactly. So I gotta put on all the stuff. That one makes it look like I have a light, but it's dark out, and then this one makes it look like it's light out and I have a light. So, yeah.
Oh, let me see if I can move this closer to me. Have it not fail.
Dude.
Trying to get the screen set up so that I can see the chat and not get confused by the Facebook or the YouTube live that's on delay versus the Periscope.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've got that figured out.
Got it all set up and everything.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I need to get my volume and everything all.
I guess that's the one thing I lament because I go into the office now, but before I did, I had that I had the setup, with all the monitors and everything here and all set up so I could do whatever. But now I'm like, might need to buy 2 monitors cheapo for the studio.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you back in the office full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's by choice.
Mainly.
Okay. Because
just change of scenery.
Well,
right?
if you think about, here's the thing: if you think about like a podcast day, like I have a great office set up here. I've got multiple cameras, microphone, I've got speakers set up, all that stuff. But but like on a show day, I will sit here for 10 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours doing work, and then
also get on to me like, oh, did you go to lunch? Like, are you away from your computer? And I'm like, yeah. This is how salaried life works. Sometimes you're not at your goddamn computer.
Yeah,
right.
You just
I
get your work
I gotta
done.
switch my internet connection. I might drop off for just a moment. And
it's like, damn, he looks good. So,
that's very nice of her to say.
Yes.
Tell her that we'll see. When she would have been Michigan last year, the last time she saw me.
Michigan last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about 50 pounds is what.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. I'm trying to use you guys as some motivation to get my fat ass in gear too.
Well, I'm headed the wrong direction, but I'm gonna turn that ship right back.
I put my COVID-19 on.
I dropped from a 42 pant all the way to a 34.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I
still got the pregnant thing going on.
Right? Yeah,
that's harder to get rid of, but.
I've been told that if you drink on a regular basis, that's just something you're going to deal with.
Yeah, it's supposedly it's mostly it's that. It's the bloatedness that the alcohol does to you, but it ain't killed me yet, so I don't,
Right. I feel you.
I'm waiting for that day too, though. Where you walk in the doctor's office and they're like, "All right, we got the test back. You're not drinking anymore." And you're like, "All right, well, I had my fun, I guess."
Right?
Yeah, time to move to Colorado.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we ready to get started?
Yes,
Do we have
sir.
anybody hanging out? Let me see.
Yeah, we got a few folks hanging with us, and I switched to the good internet, so hopefully that's all streaming correctly now. So.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Sweet. Well, let's do this. Actually, I haven't.
Bob from Canada is with us.
Sweet. I got to bring up the whatever you call that, whatever we use now for our hit the gas. That's the name of it. Nice royalty-free music.
Yes.
Okay, let's do this thing. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Off we go. We're recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 266. Today is Monday, November 2nd, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace in the PETM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. Great to be back with y'all this week after a unexpected week off. So we're excited to talk about a lot of stuff, so hang in there with us. We're going to have some fun. Before we do, you know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is every cent this year. We're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kemlinger, Coleman McClam, Eric Kettner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Perry, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Ricky Porter, Julie Bosley, Eddie Greer III, Younger Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Lacey Chinana, Rick Houston, Sarah Ambari, Evan Roller, Matt Bishop, Matthew Camper, Harry Bolzano, Les Miller, and Jumpy Bob. Woo! All right. Well, I had a few stutters there, but overall, I would say it worked out just fine. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on the co-host of the PETM podcast from the PETM North Carolina studio. Welcome, Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Yeah, not exactly wearing number 23, but to throw it back to our Georgia brethren, as well as Georgia Tech brethren, Mr. Jeff Foxworthy. Greetings, y'all, and welcome all you dang foreigners from other nations.
That's right. Speaking of other nations, we were supposed to have a SHR representative today, or tonight on the show, but understandably, he needed to postpone. We'll get to all that in a bit, but we went ahead and replaced him with the world's biggest Harvick fan. So, welcome to the show, good friend of ours, host of the Lab Traffic Podcast. It's the Professor Brandon Crowd. Brandon, what's up, dude?
What's going on, boys?
Yeah, we needed to soak in some tears. So, that.
Well, listen. Here's the tiers. Michigan lost. The Lions lost. Harvick's out. So I'm ready for Christmas. I got my Clark Griswold shirt on, so I'm ready.
Well done. I've been looking out for pictures of the house. It's about time, isn't it?
It is. I'd be lying. I'd be lying if I said there weren't 7 Christmas trees up in the house already.
I was going to say there's got to be at least 3 because I've seen pictures of 3 different ones of them.
Yes, there are now 7 trees up.
So how often are we supposed to schedule a viewing of Christmas Vacation? Is it like once every 3 days? Or?
Dude, I mean, like, so that's like fall asleep stuff on the iPhone. Like, that's just put on play, headphones in. I mean, that's something I'll fall asleep to. Like, you know, there's 52 days between now and Christmas. So that very well may get played 40 days.
But who's counting?
That's right. That's no joke. Like Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story, and Elf. Like, those are the 3 go-tos. Like that whole, I don't get into the, like, as much as I love Christmas, like that whole, what do you call it? Like that Lifetime 40 Days of Christmas with a brand new Christmas show movie or whatever. Like, I don't get into the, you know, the boy moves to the small town world. Will he not ask the girl out? Like, and it, you know, I can't get into that. Give me some slapstick comedy Christmas stuff and I'm all in.
Well, you know, I respect it, and I also have to kind of like hold it back. So the respect part.
I get it.
Growing up, we used to call ourselves the Griswollises because we did the whole lights thing. I mean, as gaudy as you can get, and I would be hanging over the edge of our rooftop, stapling lights, or stapling around the lights, the wires and whatnot onto our house. With a staple gun, and you know, and 40 feet below me, leaned over the edge and everything. There was nothing safe about it, but boy, did we have a good light show. However, I will say that in my more advanced age at this point, Thanksgiving has become my thing, and so you know, it's like, yeah, Christmas. I understand that's coming, but we gotta give some props here to Thanksgiving, because I put the turkey on the smoker, and I've got all that. You know, I spend 3 days. I take 2 days or 1 or 2 days off beforehand, so I can get prepared for the cooking that's going to happen. So, you know, Thanksgiving's my jam now.
Sure, no, I totally get behind that. That totally fit. Well, and speaking of smoking and all that, last time we talked, I had mentioned I had gotten a freezer, and you had said you were looking into getting did you get a freezer for the meats, or where are we at there?
I did not. However, I did just yesterday so my wife is going to Disney this weekend. So that's a whole ordeal. But
right.
But so last night I smoked an 8-pound Boston butt and made a gigantic pot of collard greens so that I'd have something to eat all week. Nice. Now, what's funny is usually I do a lot of cooking. I would say we split the cooking pretty evenly, if not tilting my way a little more in terms of doing the cooking. But with her gone, you just lose the motivation, is what it is. Like, I don't know. So Sherwin, I'm not trying to poop on you here, but it's like, she's gone. I'm just gonna eat some cheese and crackers or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm guilty of that without even. Oh, sorry, Brennan.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that, even just living by myself. Mm-hmm. What I would say is, if we get a chance to hang between now and Friendsgiving, if you save 2 pounds of that butt, I will make Brunswick stew for Friendsgiving.
Sir. Now,
but that means I'm inviting myself to your house on a Friday night so that we can do that.
Gentlemen, I don't know if I'm sure we've said it on the podcast, but if I never have one more Brunswick stew in my life other than Sherwin's, I die a happy man. That is something that Sherwin has down. Like, we can go back and forth on who's barbecue or who's steak or who's pork loin or whatever, but I ain't even gonna try to touch Brunswick stew. If I want it, I'm gonna just say, Sherwin, how about make me up some Brunswick stew, and whether it's money or whether it's some pork butt that you need, I'm in. I got it.
Yeah, just set me aside, just pull it all, and say, well, it doesn't even have to be 2 pounds. Maybe save a pound. We'll put some spicy sausage in there to go with it.
Man,
and light it up, baby.
It's going in the freezer after the show. So, that's in. Gentlemen, it's been too long since we started talking. Brandon, what are you drinking on tonight?
Oh, I got to pour a quick refill here because in the pre, I've already sucked down out of my Clark Griswold glass my sugar-free vodka Red Bull with club soda. So while you guys say what you're drinking, I'm pouring a refill here right quick.
Have at it, sir. Mr.
Nice.
Sherwin.
Yeah. So got your classic little Miller Lite right here.
Nice.
That's not the only thing around, though. There could be some of that firewater stuff. You never know.
Man, it has been too long since that Miller Lite long neck bottle has not let go of my hand. And when you just held it up right there, I know what it looks like, but it still looks like throwback nostalgia to me, and it's been around it's been like 6 years now.
Yeah, no kidding. It's longer than that because that was 2013 when they rolled out that Brad Keselowski deal, and they sold so damn much Miller Lite. They're like, yeah, I guess this is just a thing now.
Yeah, that's just our logo now. The blue thing
switch.
Yeah,
because remember we did that Wisest Wizard thing.
Oh yeah,
the Snowmageddon, and I had like 2 blue cans, and everything else was white.
It was beautiful. It was a great day. Well,
Brandon, have you ever played Wisest Wizard?
I cannot say that I have ever played that. That is.
Can you imagine what that might be?
I don't. I mean, I could go to a couple directions, but we might need to save that for after the show. So.
Well, so what you do, and Rusty and I didn't even probably know this was a thing until we played in an alumni fraternity golf tournament, and like one of the teams showed up in Ninja Turtle outfits,
right?
And
for a golf tournament.
For a golf tournament, and of course they're playing Wisest Wizard. What it is you drink a beer and then you put a new one on top and you tape it together.
Duct tape.
And then for the rest of the time that you're drinking, you just keep adding the empties to the bottom. So by the end, you're like, doing this nonsense. or like Rusty and I, you had to like stand on a chair because like once you get to about the 8th or 9th one, unless you're 7 feet tall, like you don't have any clearance anywhere in your house unless you stand on a chair, get some light.
And I'll tell you one of the most redneck things too is my wizard staff like stayed in the house for another year after that, and my wife was finally like, "Can we throw this out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I'm ready to depart with my wizard staff." But it was a treasured item for quite a while.
Oh, mine didn't go in the trash until I moved. Yeah, mine didn't go in the trash until I moved to North Carolina. So like 3 months ago.
I was like, you can measure that in double-digit weeks.
Yeah, it's like 7 years I had that thing.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Plus a COVID. 7 years plus a COVID.
Plus a COVID, yeah. I saw somebody the other day, they said, somebody said, I can't believe it. It must have been, no, it must have been, yeah, it was last week. Somebody said, I can't believe it's almost November. And somebody else piped in and said, I don't know what you're talking about. It's March 245th.
Right. Like COVID's that's going to be a standard unit of measurement at some point in time. How long has it been? A COVID.
A COVID? Oh, man.
It's like how many beers does it take to get to a place?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, we're not allowed to play that game anymore. I'm sure people would frown upon it, but there was a time when that was a measurement of time.
Mm-hmm.
How many beers does it take to get to Savannah? I don't know, 9?
Yeah, 9 beers to Savannah. That's not too bad.
Don't drink and drive. There's the
PSA. Don't. You got Uber and Lyft. Use it.
Yes.
So, Sherwin, you last week texted over to me that we had a new iTunes rating, and it had said it was 1 star. And I believe it said it's a couple of uneducated rednecks talking about blah 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 blah. Yeah, and so I took slight offense, right? And it was a couple uneducated rednecks that don't know what they're talking about. I don't know if you can see next to my head here. I'll move over a little bit for the folks watching, but that is a diploma from Georgia Tech, one of the premier universities, and it says. Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with highest honor with my name on it. So I am an educated redneck who has no idea what he's talking about. So, whoever wrote that, I take slight offense in that I am not uneducated. I am educated and stupid. So, just to put that out there.
Yeah, we can't all be polymaths, as they say. We're not all number doctors, except for those of us who actually are, which is everybody in this current room. We're all number doctors.
Right.
That's what we're doing here. No, you know what? I took umbrage. I laughed my butt off.
Oh, I laughed
at
forever.
Dumb Rednecks. The part of it that I took umbrage with is that we steal from website publications all of our content, and I'm like, would you like me to show you a show sheet? Would you want to know what's in there?
For the folks who do not receive the show sheet on a weekly basis, which is part of the Patreon tier, the official sponsor tier, it comes in, it weighs in at about a half a sheet of paper. So stealing from other places is going to be hard for half a sheet. So we are educated rednecks who don't know what we're talking about, and we don't steal our content because, that would be boring.
Well, we just make shit up if we need to.
Right. Yeah, why not? Why not? Oh, man. So good times. Keep the iTunes ratings coming in. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging. So just before this, I did a little throwback, and Brandon joined the call here as I was throwing back to early times of COVID, back whatever that was, 6 years ago. And I was actually watching the iRacing eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series Championship that's going on right now as we're speaking. Now, nobody that I know is in it, or I shouldn't say that I know, but that I recognize is in it. But I was actually enjoying myself watching a little racing. So, I guess it's a championship, and we have a championship weekend coming up, so I was kind of excited about that. But yeah, as it turns out, that's going on right now. Maybe it's finished by the time folks will listen to this. But anyway, let's see. Brandon, how was your weekend? What'd you do besides, before Sunday?
Weekend was pretty good. Actually, the wife and I took a 3-day weekend because we had some time to burn. Nice. And we took Friday off and hung out. And Saturday had a little neighborhood party outside, smoked pork butt, all that good stuff. For the Michigan State tailgate. Had a little prank war going on with the neighbor who's a Spartan. And, I lost, and I took my medicine, rightfully so, as I should have taken my medicine, because that was just as the Michigan loss is as bad or as equal to the Kevin Harvick not making it to the championship. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. That is so bad. I mean, both of them. So, well, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I was going to say, no. So, I mean, I put in my show sheet for tomorrow was that I had such an awesome weekend, but such a horrible weekend emotionally, just from a sports fanatic perspective. And you know what? I think that's cool because you can't have high moments in sports without low moments in sports and still be around great people to embrace it all with. So it was a very unique and very cool weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was kind of joking in my head on my way home from work, thinking about, is there some joke I could possibly write? But I think what it is you are the cosign to our sign this week. We our peaks and valleys have normalized in a lot of ways. And I'd say you had an Atlanta sports moment, but you are a Detroit Lions fan, so you had plenty of the similar kinds of moments that we've had.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh man, yeah. I think it is. I think it's like pork butt season right now. There's a lot of shoulders being smoked right now. There were like 3 people at my work, not including myself, who had posted those. I woke up Sunday morning. It was after the clocks changed and everything. So I woke up and it was like 7:15 now, and I'm like, wow, it's early. I could smoke a pork butt today and get the whole thing ready for dinner. And so went out and did that. So
nice.
Yeah, it was a fantastic Sunday. Hanging out doing that, racing, everything else, a couple beers, beautiful weekend. So,
yes.
Hey, you woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold your head that didn't hurt.
And hey, the beer I had for breakfast wasn't so bad. Had another one for dessert.
Might as well have some dessert.
That's right. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and tear this thing down. Here we go. Whoa, that's Rusty blowing the speakers out on that one. Sorry for the folks on headphones. Sorry, not sorry. Is that what the kids say nowadays? Sherwin, wait a second. If there's one thing to blow the speakers out, we have like one more chance after this to do it. But here it is. This is for Sherwin. There it is. Oh, the greatest of the PTM accolades. He called it. So last week, by the way, I texted Sherwin at like 6 p.m. I'm like, I'm going to be working until about midnight. I don't know what to say right now, but it's the reality. And Sherwin's like, dude, I'm surprised I hadn't done this yet over the last few months. The way work is going, for people who are working, it's crazy work times right now. So apologies to the PTM posse for having to postpone / cancel last week. But after that, we kind of texted back and forth. Sherwin said, "Hey, who do you want to pick for the race?" And I said, "You know what? Harvick seals the deal with Martinsville." And Sherwin said, "I am picking Chase Elliott for this one. Makes a playoffs or makes a final round in a big way." And I was like, yeah, awesome pick. Love this. And suddenly, well, we see what happened. Sherwin got the horn. I got 17th. And the Harvick fan in the in the arena here got a big bowl of, well, I can't say it on this podcast, but let's start there. What happened? So, Brandon, what happened? How does that? So, in the end, Harvick finishes 17th. I mean, I didn't do the math. I didn't go ahead and enter all that into the equations and everything. But I figured if he finished 17th, yeah, he'd be fine.
So when I look at this, I look at it from a couple perspectives. Number one is that the round of 8 had such amazing talent in it, and this just goes to show that 5 years from now, we're going to be okay from NASCAR fans in terms of we're going to have guys to root for. There is the new torch to carry us through. And I look at where we're at from the final 8 perspective, and I can say that because there was such strong talent below the cut line going into this race. Like Martin Truex Jr. was below the cut line, who's been dominant at short tracks lately, right? The guy went so long without winning at a short track. And here it is, boom, he's dominating short tracks. You had Chase Elliott, who I've been saying since the start of the Daytona 500 that Chevy's going to be in the Final Four. And you obviously have got the Toyotas and you've got the Fords. People aren't going to make it, and this Final Four could look very different from Final Fours in years past, and that's exactly what happened. You can have a bad first round. You can't have 2 weeks of a bad round 3. I don't care how good you are, and Kevin Harvick is the poster child for that. Amazing. 9 wins, 43-point lead. Finished second in Kansas. That not being able to pass Joey Logano. I love that race. That race at Kansas with a 50-lap shootout at 1.5 miles. We never get that. It was great. Yeah, it was hard to pass, but you know what? It was exciting. And he had 2 bad weeks. You can't have 2 bad weeks and expect to go race for a championship. And that's the same thing we could say in any stick and ball sport. I don't care how great your regular season is, that gets you to the playoffs. You got to be perfect in the playoffs.
That's a perfect way to say it in what we've said so many times, Sherwin, which is that first round is survival. That second round is survival of the fittest. And then the third round is you got to be somebody. You can't not be somebody. And that's unfortunately what happened to Harvick in that situation.
Yeah, so I finally finished the joke, so to speak, although it's not really that funny. So don't build it up too much. But I have nicknamed the 3 rounds leading into the championship as follows, based on the racetracks that we go to during those segments. The first round is vintage NASCAR. And we got Bristol, we got Darlington. It's just old school as F. And then in the middle, we have a trio of chaos with Talladega and the Roval in there. And then the last segment before the championship, I have deemed to be, and I might have stolen part of this from somebody. Give credit to them. I don't know who they were, but
there's that iTunes rating validation right
there. Yeah, exactly right. The got to live up to the billing. So the last segment is the Last Chance Invitation, and unfortunately for all the Harvick fans out there, he didn't capitalize on his last chance.
No, listen, I love this format. I know there's the old guard and all that. They want your traditional point system. And Sherwin, I know you and I have gone on length on our live tweets and all that kind of stuff about the caution laps and all that kind of stuff and changes that could be made. The Harvick fan in me is pissed, and that's okay because it brings passion to the sport. And I'm all about that. And I'm so excited that Chase Elliott is represented in the sport. But the rational fan in me is like, no, this format works. The elimination thing creates the intensity, the excitement. What good does it do us as fans of the sport to have a championship decided with 3 races still to go? That doesn't do the sport. It doesn't do the people investing in the sport, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's sponsorship. That doesn't do anybody any good to have a championship decided with anywhere between 1 to 3 races to go. So I love the fact that we have the championship race mean something, the last race of the year. It's just a matter of, hey, you know what? Yeah, you dominated and it carried you so far and you just weren't there at the end, and it sucks for the fan of the 4 team, but from an overall perspective, I am such a fan of this elimination format.
So,
go ahead, Rusty.
Well, I was going to switch topics here. If you got something on that, go for it.
No, I don't.
So that is well aligned with something interesting, which is, and I wrote it in the show sheet, which means, I obviously stole it. No, we're just going to keep playing on that one for a while, y'all.
That's got to be the title of the show. Wrote it like you stole it.
Yeah, that hot dog eats.
in half a page of notes. That's all I got. But no, how about Eric Jones and what was it in F1 or was it F1 or Indy where the whole team orders thing? But Eric Jones was told, hey, that Hamlin car up there in front, right in front of you, just be careful because he's racing. He's going to race you hard because he really needs that position. Just so you know. And then later on saying, don't pass him because he's really just going to race you hard. And interestingly, at the end, Jones piped up and said on the radio, I don't have much to say to you about the end. I'll talk to you when I get back in there. It feels like there was some I don't know. What do y'all think? That seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Go ahead and take it, Brandon.
So I actually have a lot to say on this, so I apologize. Cut me off, whatever, if you want. I have
okay. You can stop now.
Nice.
I have absolutely zero issues with that, and I'll tell you what. I know the rule is out there, whatever it states. I know it's not going to be verbatim. That
100%.
You've got to be racing as hard as you possibly can for every spot on the track, whatever it ends up being in a nutshell from that regard. But my biggest thing is well, wait a minute. We can go to a plate track and there can be team orders to fall to the back of the field, to stay at the front of the field, to push your teammate, to get the bottom line working, to get the top line working. If you're not racing for a win in the playoffs and you're not in the playoffs, then why can't you help your teammate out? What's the point of having teammates at that point? Like, why couldn't Clint Bowyer or Cole Custer, who are ahead of Harvick, falling back, and let Harvick gain a spot. I mean, there's different code. I mean, they were just blatant about it. They could have code worded the situation and not had NASCAR pick up on it. Hey, how's your left front? You looked a little wobbly coming off 4. That would have given no indication to NASCAR, and that could have been the team's code word of, hey, your teammate needs a spot. So, what difference does that make? Like, you have teammates for a reason, and if you're not racing for the win, and, you're 7 seconds back at Martinsville in 14th, and your teammate needs one spot to make it to the next round to help the organization, then I am all for a team order in that perspective. Like, that's just helping the organization out. So I have 0 issues with it.
Well, to the point that you're saying there, there's no repercussions for Erik Jones at this point, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So why not just say, hey, he needs a point, why don't you just drop back? At the point where there are repercussions, then you'll get the, hey, your left front looks a little wobbly. Oh, yeah, it sure is. I'm going to come in and pit or something like that. What's interesting with Jones, of course, he's leaving the team after this. He's got to be pretty turbo pissed, Sherwin.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of frustration for Erik. But I want to dive into the other side of it in that the reality is even if he gets by Denny, and certainly he's not going to do it in such a fashion where both cars get destroyed. We know what Denny is, and we know what we are if we were in the position. Denny, if he needs one position to get to Phoenix with a chance at the big trophy, he's going to just not break, and he's going to run Erik up the track anyway. So to me, this is a non-issue, and we're not talking about first and second. We're talking about 11th and 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a ton of, the background noise around. Well, they could have just had Almirola and Clint just roll back and let Harvick have their position. It's like Denny was running ahead of Harvick, so that means Denny also picks up those positions, and then it becomes a net. It becomes net neutral at that point.
Yeah.
It's just kind of dumb it's just kind of dumb to put this much energy into it because it's a non-thing. Is it obvious that they made some plans? Yes. Was it an orchestrated team event like MWR in 2013? No, it wasn't even anywhere near that.
Well, how about Harvick and Kyle Busch? Like Harvick was like, well, sorry, Kyle, if I spin you out, I get that position. So, have a nice day, I guess. But, didn't end up working out. I think Kyle did a 360 and ended up fine. It's hard to do that to a great wheelman.
Listen, I think Harvick doesn't make that move if Kyle Busch is in the playoffs. Harvick doesn't make that move if Kyle Busch is racing for the win. Mm-hmm. That was a matter of, dude, I need a spot. You're not in it, and I'm going to try to get that spot. And I think Kyle Busch would have done the same damn thing. And, Kyle Busch and Harvick, obviously, a known history of not being friends. And I think those two have gained each other's respect over the last few years. I didn't see a post-race interview by Kyle Busch.
I didn't either.
I would have to think that Kyle knew exactly where Harvick would have been coming from in that perspective.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it harkens back to Newman and Larson at Phoenix. What was that, 3 years ago? It's the same thing. He needed the position, and in that case, that one position was the position that Ryan actually needed to transfer. If Harvick takes Kyle's position only, he's still one position away from transferring.
Yep.
So, that's what makes it kind of look like, I don't know if that was the right way to go. But you never know. What if somebody in front of Harvick gets penalized, gets inspected, and they go, you're to the back of the line. All of a sudden, he picks that extra spot up. So, of course, if you're Harvick, you have to make that decision. And I would imagine whether those two have the respect for each other that it appears they do or not, there's a text message comes through from Harvick to Kyle that says, you know why I did that, right? And Kyle's probably like, yep, I got it.
Yeah.
Understand that I'm going to do the same thing if that ever comes up again.
100%.
Yeah. Well, speaking of feuds, How about Chase and Logano? There's been a couple of ordeals lately, and it's funny because Chase kind of writes it off. He's like, don't listen to what I'm saying on the radio. You know, that's just in the heat of the moment. We've talked about it many times on the show where me and Sherwin have raced each other in like little go-karts and have absolutely cussed each other out. Things you would not say in front of your mother or in front of you know, even your best friend and whatnot. But it's in the heat of the moment, and I totally understand that. But then Alan Gustafson comes in later, and he's like, Logano's a total, you know, word A, word B here. So feels like there's a little bit of drama going into the championship race, Sherwin.
I agree with you 100% because I listen to Chase's radio every week. And when that stuff started happening, I was like, this is interesting. I mean, Chase has really woken up this year. I wouldn't expect everybody that listens to us or watches this thing here to be listening to his radio all the time because we're all fans of different people and whatnot. But Chase has really gone from very, very reserved on the radio to being pretty vocal. and I mean, he dropped an MF'er, and I was like, yeah,
my man,
kid's excited. I like it.
Yeah,
this is good. You know, and Gustafson, I think he's figuring out when he needs to throw gas on that fire and when not to. Mm-hmm. But you can tell based on Gustafson's tone and his use of words that he's freshly done with however Joey's been racing Chase, which is it's kind of funny to me in a lot of ways because I hadn't compiled all that data into a place where I'm like, yeah, F Joey, but I don't have that. But clearly Alan Gustafson does. And by the way, if you've never seen or met Alan Gustafson, he looks like a defensive end. He's 6'4", 240 pounds of no nonsense.
Well, that I agree with everything you said. So I have nothing to say. Brandon?
So, I mean, I would say that I feel bad for Chase sometimes because, I mean, he's got – and it's not stuff that he goes and find. It's not like Chase is out there deliberately, like, trying to get retaliation against people. Like, it just so happens, like, you know, Denny Hamlin's racing him hard for a win and Chase finds the short straw. Mm-hmm. And Joey Logano, same thing. He finds – you know, it's just like – all of the drivers out there that could play the heel role, Chase seems to find, you know, his way around these guys, which just builds up his babyface role 10 times more, sells 1,000 more T-shirts weekly, probably, you know, and just, you know, and I think Chase is now starting to develop like that, you know, I'm not going to take this anymore. And Alan Gustafson, I mean, you know, he's not known for being a timid crew chief either. I mean, he's known for being vocal. You know, he's been around a while, hell, even with the Mark Martin days when those two were paired up. You know, Alan's got a little fire behind him, and like Sherwin said, I think these two are really starting to click on, you know, when do I need to light my driver's fuel? Or, you know, light the fire under my driver to get him fired up to not take it anymore. And I think we've seen that now with 4 wins and a championship 4 spot.
Yeah, 100%. And let's not forget, Alan Gustafson has crew chief for Kyle Busch. That's how he cut his teeth. He was brand new into Cup with Kyle. So he's got that experience, you know, a driver that was obviously is going to be in some Rushmore extension whenever he decides that he's done. But Kyle's there. He's been with Jeff Gordon. He's been with Mark Martin, and now he's with Chase Elliott. I mean, absolute, you know, 4 superstar racers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I saw something, I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks ago where somebody was like, they ought to fire Alan Gustafson. I was like, that might be the dumbest thing I've read in a couple of years, really. And, you know, NASCAR fans be saying dumb stuff. And, you know, on the Twitter, and that happens. I mean, I do it too, but it's like, hey, man, do you not understand what's happening here? Like,
and I think I saw something from Mick Rose earlier. It was either today or late last night of where, you know, Jeremy Bullins paired up with Brad Keselowski. He thought that was going to be a disaster, you know, like,
Yeah, they're racing for the big trophy, as Sherwin said. You know, something that it harkens back to what we were talking about with Kyle Busch and Harvick, in that, like, I don't really have any problem with what happened, and everybody understands what happened, and same thing for me goes with Chase and Logano. Like, I obviously don't hate Chase. Come on, y'all. Dawsonville. I'm sitting here in Georgia. But I don't hate where Logano is on all this stuff. I mean, we said it, Sherwin. I was about to say last week, and I lament that we were not able to have a show. But 2 weeks ago, I believe, I was saying, you know what? All this hate on Logano, I don't really care. I think he's doing fine. He's doing, you know, it's the rules that NASCAR put together for what we're supposed to do right now, and he's doing those things. So I want Chase to beat him. But if Logano does some shady stuff to get there, well, you know, he got there.
Well, the thing about Logano to me is he's consistent. He doesn't, you know what you're getting when the 22 car's out there running around the racetrack. It's normally in the top 10, so that helps.
Yeah.
Driver obviously pretty good. But like, it's not like he's no Jekyll and Hyde. He's the same Joey Logano every week. So like, you almost have to honor that consistency, even if you hate it. Like, I mean, hate him as much as you want. NASCAR and every sport is that way. We're fanatics, right? That's what fan is short for. Hate all you want. Recognize that the behavior is very consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't take fault in that, you know? And, you know, I obviously Harvick fan, right? You know, Harvick and Logano had some beefs. You know, Harvick's had more beefs with people than he hasn't had with people, right? Like, if we're gonna be honest about the situation, right? You know, and I also look at what Joey Logano does from a foundation and a charity perspective, and bringing a little kid to the racetrack back when we could, pre-COVID, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, you know what? This dude's honest about the fact, I don't make friends at the track. I bring fans to the track. You don't respect that, then you're watching the wrong sport.
Yeah. Yeah. Gentlemen, I will draw an analogy here. I am to NASCAR playoffs as Brandon is to Christmas, which is, I go way early on this. So I've been talking about NASCAR playoffs for probably 15 weeks now. And I am now in the culmination. This is like Christmas Eve for Brandon, in that, second period has been playoffs for so long that now it actually means something. In that we finally have our Final Four. Logano, Chase, Brad, Hamlin, for all the marbles. And I'm going to give you a reason here. And let's chew on this, and y'all throw in what you have. A reason for each of the drivers that they ought to win this thing. Logano, he's the most recent winner at Phoenix. That's pretty easy. So definitely has a chance there. Chase, at that same race that Logano won, Chase led the most laps at Phoenix. So, depending on where you are in the field and where you are in the race, Chase might win the whole thing. Brad Keselowski, he's had success as recently as 2018 with second place. Most recently 10th and 11th, but he's got something going on there. Hamlin last year won this exact race. So all these guys have the chops to win this thing. And, obviously if there's wild cards with somebody like Harvick, who has the most wins ever at Phoenix. So it might not even be like a win it to win the whole thing kind of deal. So there's a lot of pieces going on. What do y'all think?
A lot of stuff in old Duder's head.
Right?
Yeah, well, so what I would say is you're 100% dead on with the fact that we have legit four guys that have already proven their capability at Phoenix. Chase just has to check off that winning column to solidify that. But I mean, if we think about this from a perspective of the Harvick Nation is a little upset that a 9-win driver is not even going to have a chance to win the trophy. But if history repeats itself over the last, 7 years we've been doing this kind of elimination, or 5 years or whatever it is, you pretty much have to win this race to win the big check. And if Chase does, that's 5 wins. That's nothing to shake a tail at. I mean, that's significant.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Brandon, what do you got?
So, I mean, I kind of like the list that Rusty ran down. Like, so I could make the case for each driver. If I'm going to make the case for Logano, I'm making the case that he's won the championship under this format and is the only driver of this Final Four to have won a championship under this format. Chase Elliott, he's got the momentum on his side from winning this past weekend, plus a huge fan base coming in with him. If I look at Brad, I mean, Penske. That's all you need to say about Brad Keselowski. And if I'm looking at Denny Hamlin, I mean, it's him and Harvick, right? The most wins. So he's got the season momentum coming behind him. So, I mean, that's 4 very solid arguments for any one of these drivers.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Sherwin, a few weeks ago, because, you know, I'm going Homer here. We talked about Chase Elliott, and I said, is he the best road racer ever? And we contemplated that in terms of, well, does he have enough behind him to do that? But, I mean, he has enough wins, especially wins in a row on road courses, to say that. Is he is he the current best driver right now? I mean, think of the places where he's winning. He's winning in road courses, short tracks, big tracks, every discipline, and mile and a halfers is where he grew up. Like, it's hard for me, we'll get to picks in a minute, but it's hard for me not to say Chase Elliott has proven himself as an all-around driver that can adapt to these different places.
I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm signed up. One of my first tweets after the win, when I sort of calmed down from trying not to tear down my apartment, I said, Chase is 3 weeks away, I think 2 or 3 weeks away from turning 25 years old, and he's already won on every discipline that NASCAR offers.
Right.
He's won a plate race, he's won road courses, he's won an intermediate, and he's now won at the most prestigious short track that we have. And he's also pretty good at Bristol, just don't have a win yet. So, yeah, complete racer, 100%. There's got to be a lot of people shaking in the boots going, did you just say he's only 24? Yeah, he's only 24.
Yeah.
And that was win number 10.
What do you think, Brandon? Take these homers and give them, some perspective.
No, listen, I'm not going to lie. I'll play spoiler. I talked to Steve Letarte for this afternoon for tomorrow's show for an interview. And I said to Steve Letarte, I said, Chase Elliott for the last 3 years has 3 wins in a row. I said this year he's got 4 wins and just picked up a clutch Martinsville clock and punched his ticket to the Final Four at Homestead. Did Sunday's win elevate Chase Elliott to the next level? And you're going to have to tune in to what Steve Letarte had to say tomorrow on the Lap Traffic.
Oh, listen,
did I do that good or what?
Well done.
I think you can kind of go where
we got a smoke and mirrors artist up in here.
Well done, sir. I respect it. I tip my hat to you, and go to hell. Oh, man. I had something to say, and it was like profound, but it's lost. So who cares?
That's okay. I'll jump in here real quick because I want to back up to last week when Brandon did call me and we talked about superstitions in sports. All right. So Brandon, I played upon that.
Yes.
As I prepared myself for yesterday's race, knowing that it was a must-win situation for Chase. He was either going to have to win 2 stages and finish second, or he was going to have to win the race. That's basically the way it was going to boil down because he was 27 points out or 25 or whatever it was. This was a lot to try to make up. So what I did was I dug through my stack of 9,000 hats, and Rusty can identify with me on this. And I found the very first Chase Elliott hat I ever bought. So I'll get close to the camera. Napa.
Nice.
My man.
That number right over there.
Nice.
Jeff Gordon's number. Guess who was pretty good at Martinsville?
As it turns out.
Turns out.
Well, and you reminded me of what I was going to say here is that I feel like the grandfather clock is for old people. in NASCAR. So when I think of who wins a grandfather clock, that's somebody like a Harvick or a Gordon or a Jimmy or Mark Martin, and for Chase to win it, it's like, whoa, he's in that league of people now, which is pretty darn cool.
Well, and hey, it was to go to Sherwin's 24 hat. It was Jeff Gordon who picked up his last win of his career at Martinsville to win his way to the championship a couple years ago.
You 100%. I think everybody remembers that celebration. We certainly do, because by that point we were pretty much all in on Jeff Gordon being a guy that we, really appreciated being able to see at least a significant portion of his career. We weren't around in the 90s as fans, but that's all. It all aligns rather well.
Well, let's see how that happens.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in these other series. We've got Xfinity Series, Chase Briscoe, Justin Allgaier, Justin Haley, Austin Cindric. Briscoe, with as many wins as Harvick this season, as it turns out. Just to rub it in a little bit there, Brandon, he is in the final race. How do you not go with Chase Briscoe at this point?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with these next two series, and where I think you're going to go with these two questions here is I'm going to go Homer, and I'm going to go with the guys that have stepped up and really supported the Lap Traffic podcast over the last couple of years. And Briscoe's been on, and from an SHR perspective, man, I'm going to be rooting for him. But man, Justin Haley's been on the show a lot. I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years. Kaulig Racing's been big supporters. Everybody knows how much I love Kaulig Racing. I know you guys do as well. Mm-hmm. And I think Justin Haley's probably coming in as the underdog. And man, I think it'd be cool. I wanted Briscoe and Cindric to make the Final Four, just like last year. I wanted the big three of the Xfinity Series to make it, because I didn't want to feel cheated out of not at least seeing them be on the track competing for the championship. All right, so this year's big two of the Xfinity Series has made it cool, but I love some of the narratives surrounding the Xfinity Series right now.
Yeah. Sherwin?
Yeah, I just I wish Ross had a little bit better run, but 5 points is 5 points. It is what it is.
Yeah. And over to the Truck Series, Sheldon Creed, Grant Enfinger, Brett Moffitt, Zane Smith. We will not have another no-win champion at this point. So, and those are. It's weird to me to think about this is one of those changing of the guard things where. You don't see those top names that you think about when you think about the Truck Series. And so a Sheldon Creed kind of leading the field right now, holy crap. That's it's taking me a little bit to get my head around that one.
Yeah, and he's a pretty cool dude, too, at least based on his interviewing. But I need you to cue up the drop because, Brandon, who was it that I picked to win that truck race?
Oh, I believe you did go with the 98.
Yeah, I think so.
Sir.
Yeah, Sherwin gets a double horn.
Sir.
He gets a double fog horn.
Don't dare me. Woo. Oh, what is that?
There it is. I begged for it, so but I think I earned it.
Yes.
I think that's fine.
Yes. I tell you, I love Grant Enfinger. He is one of the coolest dudes that, you guys know, you've been there with me at MIS, right? Doing some of the interviews and stuff like that. Grant Enfinger is one of the guys that comes and hangs out a little early, stays a little later, and gets to know you. He actually has followed the show and has liked some stuff. Like, Grant Enfinger is probably, out of everybody from a driver perspective that's been on the show, is probably the one I've interacted with the most. So I was really bummed last year when he won the regular season championship, had that Thor Sport issue at Las Vegas and got knocked out. I almost pulled a flip the couch kind of thing Friday night when Enfinger won, and that he's got a chance to go race for it.
Well,
yeah, 100%.
Me and Sherwin were both there for the win at Atlanta for Brett Moffitt too. So we're we can't be more excited to seeing that was really cool. So yeah, I mean, it's when you get that hook with somebody, that's where it really,
Yep.
Like you either talk to them or you share a moment with them and all that. It's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen.
Next.
Yeah, go ahead. Silly season. This last week, I mean, the worst kept secret in NASCAR, as we say multiple times. But how about Larson to Harvick? Listen to me. Larson to Hendrick. I mean, this has been a strong smell for a while, and it was announced out there, and here we are today. I mean, it is what it is. I feel like Hendrick came out really strong with this, and Larson came out really strong with this. So, win-win. It feels like.
Well, I want to tee it up for Sherwin here. Sherwin has called this for a long time, and Sherwin said, it might have been even last season, that if I'm Rick, I'm knocking on two people's doors. One is Keselowski's and one is Larson's. And once Keselowski announced he was going to go back to Penske, it was like, all right, Kyle, here you go. Will you sign this? And then obviously, we all know what happens there. So I know it was an inevitability, and Sherwin, I'll take it from there because I think I teed it up for you nicely.
Well, I think, I'm not going to take credit for like being the guy that had the answer. Because I certainly wasn't. But I mean, that's what I said. If I'm talking about talent acquisition, if I'm listening to David Smith on Motorsports Analytics and paying attention to everything else that's going on around us, all the fun stuff that's being said by people who actually know things. But I had this in August because a Tweety bird that I know pretty well and who's a fun person to interact with about stuff like this said, yeah, you can pretty much book this. He's like, I'm not going to print it, though, because it hasn't been announced. And that's what you do if you were a journalist with impeccable integrity. So I've known since August this was a thing. And so I'm glad for it to come to be. And for anybody who didn't watch the Dale Jr. download on NBC or didn't listen to the Dale Jr. download last week, he had both Larson and Rick on the show in different segments, not together. And they both detailed the reasons why this is probably happening. And boy, did it make a lot of sense. And we've been talking for months now about how good a redemption story is. Everybody loves a good redemption story. I mean, there's always going to be people that are going to be upset about whatever it is they're going to be upset about. That's life. I mean, that's NASCAR. That's everything else. It's Twitter, whatever. But I mean, who wasn't rooting for Tiger to come back and win the Masters?
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, so this is kind of that in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously wildly different circumstances. I bet Larson's even spoken with Tiger. Tiger probably called him because that's actually what kind of guy Tiger is. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and just said, hey, yeah, this is obviously problematic. I've dealt with some problematic stuff. Here's how I managed it.
Yeah. Gentlemen, for recess, I mean, it's another one of those poorly kept secrets, but officially 23 car confirmed for Bubba Wallace in that Michael Jordan 23-11 team, which is pretty freaking sweet. I figured I would throw a few stats out at y'all. The 23 car, I mean, recently there's been so many folks in it, but I wanted to, kind of throw it back a little bit. Michael Waltrip, rookie season in 1986, drove the 23. I did not know that. And maybe I should have known that, but that's kind of pretty cool to me. Hutch Strickland in 1994 and again in the early aughts. And then Jimmy Spencer had all the cigarette cars from Camel to Winston and the rest in the 90s. There was Kenny Wallace, Dave Blaney, Mike Skinner, and Bill Lester. So me and Sherwin have probably seen a race at Atlanta with Bill Lester in the 23, which is pretty cool. So figured I'd just at least drop the knowledge on that one before it is time, gentlemen, to gas it up for Phoenix. Here we go. Oh, man. Speaking of dropping some stats, let me drop a couple on y'all. Qualifying record, Jimmy Johnson, 146 miles an hour. And this is just talking in the reconfiguration era. But y'all, Helio Castroneves in 2017 for IndyCar did a 195 mile an hour lap at the 1 mile Phoenix Raceway. That's bonkers. That's not safe. This is not okay, is what I feel like.
That's the reason why that's the reason why they left Nashville Super Speedway. Remember that guy we camped with at Bristol those first couple times?
Yeah.
And he talks about going to Nashville, and he said, yeah, they were like blacking out in the middle of 3 and 4 because of how fast they were. They were pulling so many G's because they were running, Nashville Super Speedway is 1 1/3 miles concrete D oval. So if you can picture that in your mind, like it's like Bristol with a dog leg on the front side and 1/3 of a mile longer, or I guess 0.8 of a mile longer. And they were doing 200 plus because it's like the same banking as Bristol.
That's not right.
And they just said, you know what? I think we're freshly done with this. We're going to find somewhere else to race.
That's one of those redneck terms, right? I think I've heard like that boy ain't right. All right, listen, that time right there, that ain't right.
Well, you can imagine like a AJ Foyt or some character like that doing that lap and pulling into the pits and like the crew chief holding a stopwatch going, this is how fast you went. And he goes, did we already do a lap? Or I don't
even. Oh, man. So, yeah. And by the way, let's run it down. In terms of Phoenix, I mean, it's hard to sit here and talk about how dominant Harvick has been at Phoenix with him not being in the championship here. But who has the most wins? Harvick. Who has with 9? Who has the most top 5s? Harvick with 16. Who has the most laps led? Harvick with 1,595 laps led. Who has the closest finish at Phoenix? How about 0.01 seconds with Harvick there?
Carl Edwards, baby.
Right? Top 10s. Jeff Gordon has it. Starts. How about y'all? Let's throw it out to y'all. Who has the most starts? Unless you're, both of y'all have the show sheet, so who knows? You've probably been following along. But
I didn't. I'm above that, so this won't be cheating for me. Most starts at Phoenix, where they started racing in 1989, I believe.
I was going to say, think throwback here a little bit, but don't throw back too far. So go ahead.
They went. How about Mark Martin?
And Brandon, what do you think?
I was going to say either Gordon or Martin.
It is indeed Mark Martin. Well done, Sherwin, on that one.
Victory!
Average
everything coming up Sherwin today.
Average finish 5.2 for Alan Kulwicki. How cool is that? And y'all, I can't leave the stats section without talking about average start 8.1 for Rusty Wallace. So go Rusty.
Nice.
Attaboy. Gentlemen, it's time to get serious. We can't leave the PTM podcast without doing some picks here. And I don't know how to do them without just starting and just making it happen. Brandon, why don't you give us your pick? And if it's different for the race than the championship, then go right ahead. But give us your pick for Phoenix.
It is different for that because I think it's been 7 years under this format, and 6 years in a row the race winner has been the championship. And hey, why not? He not in it, but why not Kevin Harvick picking up a historic 10-win season, playing spoiler. And hey, listen, I want Chase Elliott to bring home that championship. So Kevin Harvick for the race win, Chase Elliott for the championship win.
Well done, sir. Love it. Sherwin, give us a pick.
All right, you got to go, buddy. I won.
Oh, I mean, I don't give a hoot and toot anymore. It's the end of the season, fellas. We got to go Chase Elliott. Who are you talking about? Sherwin, if you don't pick Chase Elliott, I'm going to kick your ass.
Right there. You see it? I hung him up there. I don't know who all can see that far.
I love it.
I'm a Chase head up there.
This is going to make for an interesting PETM poll this week.
Is it going to be Chase, or Chase? And go jump in a lake if you don't agree.
Oh, yeah. I'll find some joke to write that'll make somebody mad. You only get 25 characters in that little poll window there.
Right.
So that joke succinct. Has to have no fat in it for it to play.
No marble.
I'm Homer all the way. I can't not. Like, it doesn't matter to me that. Yeah, I mean, it's, y'all know what we are. I mean, I'm all the time back and forth with Dawson Pool Room. We're talking about the siren, and I'm flipping crap over here in the house. Like, I mean, like this is no time to win a fantasy league,
right? Yeah. No offense, Brandon.
This is No, I mean, hey, bless everybody that's listening who likes to play fantasy. I've enjoyed that in all manner of sports over a long period of time, and I just decided that that's not for me anymore, and that's fine. The gambling aspect of this have some kind of, we love to play that over-under game. Brandon and I play that game on Twitter all the time, over-under on some kind of nonsense, like when is the 75th caution of this race going to happen? Or what, what I mean? Just stupid stuff just to keep things light and fun. But yeah, I mean, you know where I'm at. There's no reason for me to pick somebody else.
That's a whole deal. That's why that's why I went that extreme. I'm not sure I can kick your ass, but it's important. Gentlemen, let's get this thing closed out. Brandon, tell the folks where they can find you. What's coming up next? And it's coming up next soon.
It's coming up next soon, tomorrow night on Lap Traffic at Lap Traffic PC. You can catch Steve Letarte. We're going to break down and preview the Final Four. And then next week, on a special Wednesday edition of the Lap Traffic podcast, not Tuesday, a Wednesday edition next week, Jeff Striegel and I are going to recap the 2020 season. So lots to come still from Lap Traffic this year.
Right on. Tell Jeff we said hello. And with Sherwin, close us out.
Yes, sir. You can find us over at PETM Podcast on both the Twitter and the Instagram. And we're on Facebook in the same place. YouTube, obviously, if you're watching, you know that. Just PETM Racing Podcast. Anywhere on your Google, you'll find all the stuff we're doing. And next week, we have Jay Busby from Yahoo Sports. We are going to recap the championship, and we are going to talk about the Masters.
Whoa. Wait, yes. You already texted me this, and I'm re-excited, I guess is the way to put it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find us. PTMPodcast.com. At PTM Podcast. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor. My, I guess, co-host in crime here, pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin at pregame engineer. Can't wait to talk to y'all next week. It has been a blast. See y'all later.
See ya.
After dark, y'all.
And that's a wrap.
I feel bad. I totally forgot to plug the fact that I'm going to have both Race Weather and Brian Neudorf on. And it's funny, Sherwin, you mentioned fantasy and all that stuff. I've got the Final Four Lap Traffic fantasy players going to make their picks all live on the show tomorrow.
Sweet. Well, guess what?
Pretty excited.
We're still being recorded.
Yes,
so anybody that watches YouTube is going to get this.
Yes.
But we have some shit to cover in After Dark that we deliberately ignored.
Excellent.
So, and it's not in the show sheet or nothing. I'm just talking about, I was just bullshitting back and forth. I mean, obviously there's something happening tomorrow night. I don't know what it is. Somebody tell me. Is it an election?
Oh, wow.
Oh, look out.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I mean, obviously that's happening. We're not going to talk about politics. There's no reason to even broach the subject. We've all done our citizens' duty and struck our ballot the way we have, and that's fine. And I hope everybody votes. Everybody go vote. If you haven't yet, well, guess what? You're going to wait in the line tomorrow. That's just that. I waited in line on Friday morning at 7:40 in Roswell, Georgia, for 4 minutes.
Nice. I showed up at the polling place in Chamblee, Georgia, at 8:50, and I think I said it I might have said it 2 weeks ago on the after show on the After Dark that by the time so it was 8:50 and the polls open at 9 a.m. So we were waiting at least 10 minutes by design, but by 9:15 I had a Chick-fil-A biscuit in hand that was not provided by the polling place. I had to go get my Chick-fil-A biscuit, and I had it by 9:15. So, if you're if you had, you got to strategize this thing. You got to get out there and vote. And if you do it right, you might have your Chick-fil-A biscuit by 9:15. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I dropped my absentee ballot off at the local municipality, and what looked like the type of box a 5-year-old drops their letter off to Santa at the local library to get a return from some computer-generated type thing.
Well, it's no different from Santa, is it? Because you're just kind of hopes and wishes. Here you go.
You got it.
Hopes and dreams.
You got it.
I want to add an anecdotal story, and I'll remove the details that don't matter just for the sake of helping folks understand that there are really, good people that are out there managing these polling situations. So a really good friend of mine who is a Patreon contributor is going through some stuff with his son, who is a freshman at Georgia College. So Eric Kepner, peace be with you and your family, brother. But he told me a funny story about when he went to vote, which was last Saturday. Not this most recent one, but the one before that. He said he was standing in line, and there was a feller in that line that was wearing a hat that was sort of a campaigning activity, which, as we all know, any of us with half a brain, is illegal. Right? You're not allowed to do that. So the line proctor walked up to him and said, "Sir, you're going to have to remove that hat because you are currently breaking the law." And said person decided he was going to mount some kind of argument, at which point the proctor realized that was fixing to come. And he said, "Nah, we're not discussing this. You're breaking the law. If you need to have a discussion with somebody, there's a deputy right over there." And the deputy waved, and he took his hat back to his car, and he was sent to the back of the line. This is in Alpharetta, Georgia.
That's funny.
By the way, where I see Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Maseratis, Rolls Royces, Bentleys every day. Like, I get surprised when I see one now here in Mooresville, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I saw one the other day just zipping down the road near where the mill that I work at is. I'm like, oh, shit, that was a Ferrari. And I'm like, I usually see those every day. Like, I met said same person for a beer and dinner on Thursday night. And I saw a Lamborghini on my way to go get that beer. Like, I mean, that's the kind of place we're talking about. And this is the behavior that the vote, the poll proctor exhibited, just pragmatist, 100%. You're breaking the law. You can't do this. Oh, you want to have an argument? Cop.
Yeah, just have it with that guy. Have it with the person with the gun, and see how we're feeling.
That's funny.
I felt like there was something else. I don't know what we're gonna do. So y'all heard about with the Clemson Notre Dame deal, where Clemson's quarterback can't play?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we didn't play against Boston College, and they tried their best to lose. Which college kids, there's a lot of emotion involved in that. I mean, you see it time and time over with the kids. They let that emotion get a hold of them. But number one is going to South Bend to play what's probably going to be number 3. I don't know that any of those numbers matter right now because only 60% of college football is actually playing football games, kinda.
Right.
But yeah, that's going to be big. It's going to matter.
Sherwin, did you see the Lions carried their momentum from the Atlanta win with a nice, 20-point loss to Indianapolis this past weekend?
If you got to force rank everybody, we know where we stand.
Yeah, and Atlanta beat Carolina. What what are we doing? I don't know. And, you know, and all the news today was about our best defensive interior lineman going to get traded. And then he like tweets out, yeah, I've already denied every trade because I want to be a Falcon. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. So he's got a no trade clause, and he's like, yeah, this is what I did to all those trades.
Nice. Nice. It's nice when you got the guy that wants to play. And it's not like you know, like for so long, the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers have had to overpay for everybody to come here because nobody wants to come and play for the Lions and nobody wants to come play for the Detroit Tigers anymore. And it's like, we don't get that hometown discount anymore. Like, someone's coming here. Yeah, we're paying top dollar. We're setting the over in the franchise tag clause. Like, we're screwing it for everybody else that wants to franchise that position because we got to overpay them.
Well, and I don't mean this as any offense, but it's reality in that, like, you go onto like real estate listings and here's a mansion you can have in Detroit. It's $100 or best offer. Right. And you're like, oh, well, you know, there's some strings attached here. What's going on? Like, yeah, they owe $1 million in back taxes, but like, it's wild, man.
You got your pockets.
How long ago? So let me ask, Brandon, you'll have firsthand knowledge of this, but Rusty and I will also have it because we had this conversation because we joked about it, nothing serious. But when the Silverdome went on the block, you know, after all the funny memes and everything about the roof caving in and all that, what have you, you know, that you could have bought that lot with the building intact the way it was for $500,000.
Yep.
And I mean, we had an email list back then when, you know, when we were still not all that removed from college. We were still emailing everybody like crazy. We had the list. We called it the list.
The list. Yep.
And it was like $500,000. Boy, I bet you if you could sit on that for about 10 years, that'd be a hell of a good investment.
Yeah. $500,000 got you the property, the stadium, everything. And now it
and the tax bill.
And the tax bill is probably
there's that. Property taxes probably suck. Although you probably could buy whatever their lease was in the contract of buying the property. So I don't know if they got some sweet ass deal like Kia did down in LaGrange where they don't have to pay taxes for 100 flipping years.
Well, that's, you know, I mean, that area, I mean, they tore it down. It's still just a vacant area now. And the thing is with the Silverdome is the parking lot was on grounds. It wasn't like you're parking in little mini lots to Joe Blow for $10 here, $20 there.
Yeah,
like,
so it's like 100 acres.
Yeah, you were parking on site for the most part. And the same thing with the Palace of Auburn Hills, which was literally like not walking distance, but just like a mile, 2 miles away, not that far. Well, maybe a little further, but you know, the Detroit Pistons and the Detroit Lions did not play in Detroit. Like, they weren't remotely close to playing in Detroit, yet they had that name tag of the Detroit Lions and Pistons. The Palace of Auburn Hills was a beautiful facility. Still was. I mean, that thing was built, I think, in the mid-90s, and that it was still considered pretty state-of-the-art for what they had. And that thing got torn down. It's just sitting there. I think there's office complexes scheduled to go in there, but there's nothing scheduled to go in where the Pontiac Silverdome was.
So let me ask you this, because I know that you guys built a baseball stadium too. Was it Tibbs Field? Was that the name of it?
So we've got Comerica Park, which is where the Tigers play in downtown Detroit. That's in Detroit. But then we built there's a not far from where the Pontiac Silverdome was. It's Jimmy John's Field, and it's like a little 4 or 6 team minor league, you know, kind of thing that was built. You know, but then, you know, we got the Lansing Lugnuts. That stadium's out there. That's pretty new. But yeah, the only baseball stadium that's really been built is Comerica Park, and that was 2000.
Was I thinking of Ebbets for some reason? What was the Detroit stadium that had the outfield decking the way the old Yankee Stadium used to be, where like the second deck was like basically in parallel with the fence. So like you could.
That was Tiger Stadium. That was
okay. All right.
That was old Tiger Stadium.
I'm thinking all the wrong stuff. That's what we're doing this on After Dark. But I just remember when they knocked down one of those stadiums, they built like basically they rebuilt the field where it was.
Yes.
But as a public park. Like
that was
really
Tiger
nice
Stadium.
Baseball field here. Come use this.
They tore down Tiger Stadium, and for a while they literally they kind of encased where home plate was, and they literally built like a public park for kids just to come play. Like, you could have been, dad and son could have been, lobbing pitches to each other across where that home plate used to be. But now even that wasn't taken care of, and that got overturned. I think that even got sold, that area. So, I don't even know if that area even exists anymore, to be honest. But, for the longest time, they did build that into a public park, Old Tiger Stadium.
I thought so. I mean, that's what I remember about it.
Yeah. Not far off.
Right. So you got a big slate tomorrow. Make sure you give Aaron and Brian
Jeff?
a fresh ration of shit on our behalf.
I will. I'll tell you what. I'm glad I've got the show to do tomorrow. Like, I'm glad you guys went tonight. I'm glad I got the show tomorrow. I'm glad you guys will pick up the slack for me next Tuesday, and I'll come out Wednesday. Because to be honest, as someone with the political science degrees and background, I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch 12 hours of. I don't want to watch 12 hours of Preakness coverage like we do, for the Kentucky Derby and I don't need to see all that. I don't want to watch all that. I don't want to be tempted to watch all that. I am so glad that I've got the show to do tomorrow night to take up a few hours. So I am really looking forward to doing tomorrow night's show.
Well, I tell you what, the one you want to watch that's going to be the most entertaining is Joe Rogan's YouTube channel.
I don't know how that would be a bad time.
He smashed. He didn't even know they didn't even know what they were doing. They just did it last go round, which obviously was 4 years ago. And it turned into, people getting wasted, roast battle. Bill Burr was, he laid into Sarah Tiana as hard as Bill Burr can lay into anybody. He let her have it. And it just, the whole thing was just absolutely hilarious. And then they're like, oh, votes are in. They didn't even care. It was like watching when they do that. What does Joe call it? When they watch the fight, but he's not there. Like the fight, whatever he does on his podcast, where they put it on in his studio, and then they basically just get high and drunk and bullshit, and then they go, oh, and then that means somebody got hit in the face,
got knocked out. Yeah, that sounds about what tomorrow's show is going to be like. So I'm all about it. Yep. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
It'll be fun. I guess Rusty's got some editing to do. Rusty, you want to do that? And I'll just keep on talking to Brandon as long as he's willing to stay.
Hey, I am. I think we are on iTunes now, by the way.
Excellent. Oh, cool.
Boom.
All right.
Shaka.
Good deal.
So it should be up. And when I say iTunes, I mean all the places, iTunes and Google and Stitcher and everything else.
If you're on one, you're on the other.
That's right. That's the thing. And there was a point, it was several months ago, and Sherman was like, we need to be on Stitcher. And I went on and I was like, type. Okay, we're on Stitcher now.
Yeah.
I laughed. When he sent me that text, I laughed my butt off. I was like, who knew that it might be that simple?
Right.
And I don't even know who, Stitcher's, I never even used it. But I knew that it was a thing that was like, all right, everybody's got their own little weird thing, they're in their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, if you don't have an iPhone, then there's other ways you do this.
Yep.
And this is why we're always we're not like gung-ho carrying the torch and the pitchfork for Apple. It's just, it is so easy. The app's already built in. It's there. All you got to do is tell it to point, go, hey, I want to download this one, or I want to be attached to this one so I can stream. And it just does it for you.
You know? I think it's something like 75% of my downloads come through Apple. Like, I mean,
I haven't checked in a while, but there was a time when it was 49%, and then every other thing was the other 51%. I'm like, well, clearly Apple, that's where we should be focusing our attention.
And I host through Podbean, and they've made it so easy to integrate with every possible podcasting platform out there. Like, you know, hey, Alexa, play the Lap Traffic podcast. Okay. If that's not the coolest thing in the world and you want to show off to friends and family when they come over, I don't know what is. Like,
yeah. I'm gonna have to try that. I've got the Amazon Echo downstairs, and just see what it says when I say that. And if it doesn't play it, then I'm gonna be royally pissed.
It does, because I've listened to you guys through it, so you're good.
Well, appreciate it.
So you haven't lived until you have heard Rusty ask Alexa to play something, and like it doesn't. I mean, let's say it's music. Opposite. Hey Alexa, play Joe Diffie, and she's like, okay, I'm going to play Kanye West. And he's like, fuck you, motherfucker. And she's like, that was mean.
I might get bent out of shape. Like I abuse, I'm not going to lie, I abuse Alexa a little bit. So, hey, here's the funniest thing is walking to somebody's house where you know they have it and tell it to order. And I think I got this from like XKCD or something else, but I totally did this to my in-laws. And
that's happening.
I have not seen, listen, y'all, I've got a great relationship with my in-laws. They love me to death. I love them to death. Like, it's one of those really good in-law relationships that you just hope you have in your lifetime.
Yep.
But when I walked in and I said, Alexa, order 7 gallons of peanut oil. And she goes, 7 gallons of peanut oil have been added to your cart for $150. Please say yes, and we will immediately place the order, whatever it was. You know, because he had his credit card entered and everything on Amazon. It was ready to go. And he goes, no, Alexa, no, cancel, no, stop. And he looked at me with this face that was like, I'm going to kill you. And I thought, wow, this is new. Way to go, Larry.
Struck a chord.
And so Brandon knows Larry is like uber chill.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like, he's got kind of that Yosemite Sam look because he's got all that red hair and you know, he just has that kind of that look, you know.
He's chill AF. You know,
sweet ass red beard with gray in it. Like he just real classic looking dude. So like for him to get excited like that, it's hilarious.
It was great. It was great. Well, he's a nerd too. And when I messed with his nerd stuff, it was on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And he was a submariner in the Navy. So like he's been in some pretty high stress situations.
Yeah. Your favorite thing to ask him, hey, where were you in January of 1986? He's like, I can't remember. And you're like, yeah, bullshit.
You lie. You were in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah. You had nuclear. You had a nuclear sub with nuclear things pointed at nuclear nations.
Had buttons
you were on the ship that they filmed for Top Gun in the opening scene.
Right.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Oh
man. Well, that was like, was it Prime Day? Like, so there is not as big as like where Pontiac Silverdome used to be, but it was a pretty sizable 10-field softball park that's like a mile and a half away from the new house. And I mean, this thing operated from March to basically the first week of November. Every day, all 10 fields were full with hour games from 6:10 to 11:50 at night. Every field, Monday to Sunday, filled with softball teams, different classes, all this. I mean, I played there from early college till I was in my mid-20s. Like Liberty Park, you played softball if you lived in Metro Detroit. And they actually sold and built an Amazon warehouse distribution center there. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I get same and 1 day deliveries now from Amazon, and it's like, holy shit! Like,
yeah,
this is scary how quick shit can get to your house.
It was about 3 years ago the first time I ordered something and got it same day, and I wasn't even on like their I was on their naughty list, not the nice list.
Right.
So, but even on the naughty list, they were just like, "Yeah, we're close enough. Just send it." And I got it later that day, and I went, "Whoa, this is not normal."
Nope.
So
it's like food delivery.
Right. Uber Eats, Amazon delivery. Shit.
Yeah, but it's like the steal from Tom Segura. Like, you can get like hammers and notebooks and stuff, and it just shows up like in an hour. It's like, what is this?
Crazy.
Like, what else can I order?
yeah. Give me all of it.
I had to walk into I've been to the grocery store and I've been to Costco, but I haven't been to like a department store probably since Christmas last year. And I had to go buy a new suit for Sherwin. I think you missed this before you had signed on. Like, I leave Sunday for Marco Island for a 3-day work conference. And I know. Well, I was going to leave Monday because I assumed Kevin Harvick would be racing for a championship, and I wanted to be in my man cave, like in my zen. And so this morning I logged on to work, and I go, "Hey, can I still come Sunday?" They go, "Yeah, we've got 2 rooms left if you want to come out a day early." Went over to Delta. It was a $30 fee to change my flight from fucking Monday morning to Sunday morning. I'm like, peace out. I'm going an extra day. And so I do all that, and the Tuesday night banquet is a black tie optional, suit required. And so 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I go to put on my suit, and I'm like, this is when I had that aha moment of shooter here needs to lose his COVID-19. So I had to go buy a new suit. And the only store you get a new suit in has got the flu. So you hear that? The whole store has got the flu. So
oh yeah.
My cousin
Vincent L. Gambini.
My cousin Vinny dropped there. But anyway, so I had to go to a like department store, and it was like, man, this feels weird to like you can't try shit on. So I had to buy 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, because the only thing I could put on was the suit coat. I'm like, okay, well, this one fits, but all the fitting rooms are closed. I'm like, well, I think I need either a 38 or a 40. So I just bought them both and had to come home, try them on, and go take back the size that doesn't fit. Like, it's crazy.
That's weird because you're like, yeah, here's a disease-filled one, and enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah. When you show up tomorrow, your suit better be made out of some kind of cloth.
God, I could quote that movie so bad. Oh, that is the best movie of all time. Oh, man.
Stein. He said Stein. It's Steam.
Right. Well, and the funny thing is, like, I came so close to playing a drop from that movie last week because I got a new, I do the new follower shout outs, and I got a Steen or a Stein, and I didn't know how the fuck he pronounced it. So I said one, and I literally just did the My Cousin Vinny drop from that, thinking, all right, is someone going to pay close enough attention that maybe someone will say something on Twitter? It didn't happen. And then we went on this My Cousin Vinny gift thing for 20 minutes on Sunday, and I'm like, God, this is perfect. And someone's like, holy shit, are you guys actually talking about My Cousin Vinny? Like, it's only the greatest movie of all time behind Roadhouse and Christmas Vacation. I'm sorry, like, that's my
it's I mean, my biological clock is shit, I just stomped on the floor and I'm on the second floor. Whoops.
You got to do it to the guys upstairs with a broomstick.
Oh, goodness gracious. I did do that the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, I got frustrated.
That was so. What's funny about that movie? It's one of those that if you go on YouTube and you watch there's some lawyer and he's got a chiseled jaw and all that. He's a good looking fella, but he talks about how accurate different movies are in terms of law. And he's like, actually, My Cousin Vinny is surprisingly pretty good.
Really?
Yeah,
I would not have thought that, but that's awesome.
You know what? Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Rusty, because I'm gonna reach out to a previous guest that we had, Drew Morgan, who was he was bar certified in 3 different states. He's from Tennessee, but the liberal redneck crowd.
Yeah,
and ask him what he thought about that, because I know those guys appreciate comedy in a very similar fashion that we do, because that's what they do is comedy.
Right.
I'd be curious to know what he thought about it, because I mean, despite all the theatrics, there was some pretty technical use of the book, you know.
Right.
You guys gonna hang around? I gotta take a piss. You guys gonna hang around a minute?
I'm gonna drop off the YouTube here, and I also need to go race a little bit, like a piss horse does. So, YouTubers, thank you for hanging out. It's been a blast, and we'll be back for post-season stuff next week.
Woo!